beautiful booby trap.
Tonight, the overture is murder.
And the final act ends with a dagger and a detective.
Welcome back to the Booby Trap podcast, where crimes are classy and killers are always waiting in the wings. I'm Tata Babs.
And I'm Mamie Mellons. We're headed behind the curtain with Charlie Chan at the opera, 1936. Murder mysteries soaked in drama, deception, high notes. Prepare this film with a floral smile, silky opening act, and then bam, unexpected twist of acidity that hits like a soprano's high note. That woman in the movie. This one forms, it preens, it carries a dagger in its bodice.
In a world where madness hits its final note, one deceptively sweet white wine prepares for its curtain call.
For the 1936 film Charlie Chan at the Opera, we have Detective Charlie Chan, servant, philosophical, patient, and a mood of dramatic, theatrical, operatic madness and layered danger. One perfect pairing, Bless Your Heart White Wine, from Windmill Creek, Maryland. Oh, we're finally venturing to Maryland.
And wine that looks charming and polite on the surface, but underneath that genteel exterior is a surprising intensity. Just like the opera, sweet Ariana on top, murderous rage underneath. Charlie Chan would appreciate the deceptive grace. So for our wine pairing, let's go ahead and have a sip, and we're going to go ahead and provide 3 words that describe the wine. I think it's floral. It's bright. I feel like it's cheerful too.
It is very floral. I think if I were eating a dandelion, it would taste just like this, maybe.
Well, there's plenty outside. You can go and try.
Actually, people eat dandelion.
I know. I
dandelion
told my husband, you know what? We should go pick them, and then we can make some tea.
What would it pair nicely with? Hmm. This one's a tough one because it's not terribly bold. White wines are tough anyway. I'm gonna say it's gonna have to be some really pungent cheeses because if this is gonna need this one is gonna need to be elevated. Not a mild cheese. It's gonna have to be a sharp cheese or a pungent cheese to really bump that up a level.
I was thinking kind of like a salad or something. I think partially because it's now nicer weather. Automatically, I start thinking like summer type food. So I was thinking a salad with, like cheeses and stuff like that, but also like maybe a little bit of fruit in there too. Yeah, I mean,
Concept, right?
something that
Elevate.
would elevate it and it would pair well nicely. Just it's mild, right? So it's one of those things, which is great.
Maybe on the salad.
Ooh, that could be nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that. Yeah.
I mean,
I
there's
was thinking,
definitely wines where we're just like it's so dry or it's so like bold. You're like, this could be a nice porch wine.
it is definitely a
It's nice and
spring
cold
summer
enough.
wine.
Yeah.
It is absolutely that. It's very mild, very very pleasant. I'm still in winter because when you said it's salad, I was thinking salad weather, salad weather, like they do sweater weather, sweater weather, sweater weather. So yeah, I can see that this is probably one of the better summer wines.
It's very true. I mean, I know people debate adding an ice cube into your wine, but I can see people, whether you do that or not, nice and chill, I think is nice.
And it's very very look at how gold it is.
Yeah.
Very very gold. So yeah,
So I think to our audience, how would you go ahead and review this wine in 3 words? Let us know on social media.
and again it's called.
This is Bless Your Heart.
Mhm.
And it's Windmill Creek Vineyard and Winery in Maryland.
And if you're not anywhere near the South, please Google what "bless your heart" means because that'll even give it more of a comedic flavor.
I think that it would be great if at the end, Charlie Chan or someone on the
One
could
time.
go, "Oh, bless your heart."
One time, just once. I want to have somebody do it. Yeah.
You never know. There could be movies that, coming up that may have that. We'll see. So what is the sip or skip verdict for you?
I think 7.
Yeah, I definitely think it's sippable. Definitely not suspicious. It's not straight to
Mhm.
jail. It is a delicious wine to have on the porch or, have with a nice salad or, as you were saying, some different cheeses. I mean, all of that sounds delicious. I could do all of that.
But when I drink it, it actually makes me crave something to snack
Like snack nibble on.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm drinking this. I'm like, did we bring cheese in here? A cracker? What did we bring? And there's something that's making my palate go. Need a
You know
little.
what?
What
I
do they say
agree.
in the north? A little nosh. I need a little nosh.
You know what? I agree because we just had the brunch right before this,
A
so
lovely one, but now I'm like, "Where's the"
yeah, it's funny because I wasn't hungry, but now I'm like, "Yeah, I could use a little something, something."
and I'm not even hungry. I want something, on my palate to go with this, and
Yeah,
it's just like, "Give me something." So,
yeah.
this is a very needy wine, as it turns out. It doesn't wanna be served alone.
Well, let's go ahead and enjoy our bottle, and then, we'll go ahead and provide an overview of the film Charlie Chan at the Opera from 1936. So cheers.
Cheers.
So, a world famous opera star, Graville, played none other by Boris Karloff, has just escaped from an asylum with amnesia and a voice that can shake the chandeliers.
He shows up backstage at a glamorous opera house just in time for the curtain to rise and the bodies to fall.
When a cast member is murdered mid performance, Honolulu's suavest sleuth, Charlie Chan, steps in to solve the case, armed with keen observation, calm wit, and a pocket full of proverbs.
So we have some not as well known and some well knowns in here. So we have Warner Oland that steps again into Chan's shoes as the playing Charlie Chan with his signature calm demeanor. Boris Karloff, we know Boris Karloff, depending on what generation you're in, you either know him as Frankenstein,
And keep in mind, even though he was not in the actual film of Arsenic and Lace, which we had previously talked about,
and the face up.
he had the face of Boris Karloff because at the time he was in the play, which is
Mhm.
fascinating. Which once again, I didn't realize he did plays.
And that made the brother murderous every time he said that. So yeah. So and the next, or you know him as the Grinch.
Mhm.
So it just and obviously a very distinctive voice. There's no escaping that. You can when you hear it, you don't you know immediately.
Yeah.
So he's starring as the mysterious opera singer Gravel, and as without even trying, he's bringing the horror gravitas. Again, he's you know pouring that through. This wasn't too long after Frankenstein, so he still had that scary, ominous vibe. Then you have Key Luke, who reprises his role as Chan's son Lee. Has
Number one son.
number one son, charm and comic relief. Luke was one of the first Chinese American actors in a major Hollywood franchise. He would go on to voice Master Po in the TV series Kung Fu. How interesting is that? And what I like about that is there was no appropriation here. He actually was a Chinese American
Mhm.
rather than doing what a lot of them tend to do back then was give him a coat of paint, whether, what they did to actors, the Native Americans, give them a coat of brown,
Well, like Warner
give them a
costumes.
coat I don't even know if you would say, my goodness, yellow.
I think they call it yellowface, actually.
And that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's just terrible. I mean, yeah. So, that was probably unusual at that time to actually have not to use a real ethnicity in the role. So anyway, this is directed by H. Bruce Humberstone, and this film is often ranked as one of the best in the Charlie Chan series, which were wildly popular back in the day, which means they got better budgets than some of the other motion pictures at the time because they were big box office hits.
Mhm.
So you've got part mystery, part horror, and all stagecraft.
Obviously, as we said, it has Boris Karloff, so this is post Frankenstein, pre the Mummy's ghost, so it's showing that he can terrify without any makeup, and he sings, well, okay, dubs, haunts and broods like a gothic tenor.
Like I say, Charlie Chan is played by Warner Olin. Ironically, he was a Swedish actor in Hollywood's, as we mentioned, the Yellowface era. Problematic, yeah. Historically common, as I mentioned, also yes. It was
Mhm.
just, that's the way it was in any movie back then, particularly if you watch westerns. And the Native Americans
Right.
were always, it's ridiculous, almost comical now when you see it of the brown shoe polish almost that they put
Yeah.
on it. So Um, played Chance 16
That's
times.
incredible. That's a lot
That
for
for
a
any
film.
that much sort.
Because I
I
don't know,
can't
like,
think of
Sherlock
anybody's.
Holmes, like, Rathbone, I don't know if he did that many
No,
films for that. So
he
that's pretty
I
significant,
don't think so.
16. Yeah. He
I
did
mean,
a lot. He did a lot for Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes is considered the most fictional character ever done in movies and television. Number one, I thought it was Dracula, but turns out it's Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting. No. a little disappointed it wasn't Dracula, but okay. Because I mean, think about the Dracula movies.
Yeah,
But apparently Sherlock Holmes beats it. I didn't know. So, and this might be his most atmospheric outing. You know, you have, which it reminded me of this quite a bit. You've got the
right.
Phantom of the Opera mask,
Yeah, you were saying that.
shifting of the shadows, secret doors, lots of things to keep your attention, which was very necessary, I think, to avert your ear.
So, what's really kind of interesting to point out, so Olin actually claimed to have Mongolian descent, and that seems pretty crazy if you're from Scandinavia. However, I remember when I was in at university, I was actually studying in Finland for my last semester, and there was a professor that was mentioning the fact that Finnish and Hungarian language were most closely related, which is weird, and that they were both coming from like the Mongolian language. So initially, I'm thinking, that's pretty fascinating, and I wonder if that's kind of
Hmm.
potentially the route, but, this is considered a much older linguistics theory that's kinda gone away now. But another theory actually suggested that Owen's family might have had a Sami heritage. The Sami people lived near his birthplace, which some could speculate, like, could account for his features potentially, although this is, once again, like, not confirmed. So, there might be something where, yeah, he doesn't look like the typical blue-eyed Scandinavian, so, maybe there's a little something in there. He's also not Chinese, that's for sure.
Right. And obviously, if typecasting was ever a thing, and which it is, it definitely was for him because I want you to name one without Googling it, name one other movie. When you play one character 16 times, you're never going to be known for anything else
Yeah.
but that character. Right. The opera was in the film is Carnival, which was specially composed for the movie by Oscar-winning composer Oscar Levant. And yeah, it is actually good.
It is pretty fascinating the fact that, like, they created the film's own opera. That just seems incredible. But I guess it could also you could play more with it, right?
Hmm.
Like, add more of a storyline that you would want to see. And what's also interesting is the sets were actually left over from the 1935's Phantom of the Opera, and it was reused and repurposed. So once again, you reference, "This looks like it's Phantom of the Opera." We're watching it,
Like
so
get a Phantom of
yeah.
Opera vibe, which is a film I loved. The play, the Broadway. I just that whole there's just a romance into it.
I
I
love
really like.
Phantom of the Opera, but I also like the technical aspects, which
Oh yeah.
I know there was something we saw that was unexpected, in the film, and when I see technology things, it's like, "Ooh, what's that? Like, how do they do that?" So, that captures
We
my
want
attention.
Karloff didn't actually sing, but he lip synced beautifully to a dubbed operatic voice, very diva, very drama. I'm convinced the actual not only was it lip synced, but that was not him. I just don't believe it because
So, he did do some of it, but I do feel like they kept on switching like another person
they
'cause
did because he was shorter and fatter
yeah,
in several places.
and they were dressed the same.
It was just the height and the weight. But when we were talking about it, the one thing we've brought this up many times, which is we're looking at it from 2026 version of watching a movie, but still, we're talking 1936, which cinema is still within talking movies are still in, they're not infancy anymore, but they're like toddler years. And so it's not like we do now where it's like, oh, we notice all these, oh, that was a stunt man or something like
Uh-huh.
this. And there's the awe and still paying attention to the general phenomenon of a movie. And rather than picking like we tend to do now, where it's like, oh, we can tell if that's not that person
Yeah.
or whatever. One thing I did just to talk about Boris Karloff here is I did not notice this. I've watched him many, many things in his career. I never realized what a horrible list he had,
Oh, yes.
and I was like, "Watch that," and I felt really sorry for, uh,
Well,
Charlie Chan
yeah.
because, I guess because of the way these film things at the time, everybody was always whenever they'd have conversations, there wasn't, like, across the close talkers.
Yeah.
So I know, I was like, the way he was talking, that
Mhm.
really bad list, almost to the point where he had little bubbles in the side of his lip of I was like, he's getting spit on. I felt really kind of bad for him, but I never noticed that about him before. But you know what? He still looks so ominous. It's like
Oh, yeah.
he'd probably still kick your ass if you said it. That's what he looks like. Apparently, he was a lovely family man. Was a lovely, lovely person in real life. I think I'm gonna, and somebody's gonna have to check this for me because I can't remember. It's a rumor I heard or something I actually read that they had thought about um, him being Dracula, the original Dracula,
Mm.
before Bela Lugosi was ultimately chosen. And I don't know if that was just something that I end up hearing or something that was actually true. I can't see that, but he's way too lumbering
Yeah.
to be a Dracula. But you
Right.
had certain people that were chosen for those Universal
Oh, yeah.
monster roles. That
Right.
was just the same people. Did he play the Mummy too? I thought he did.
He was in the Mummy's Ghost, so maybe but, like, the original Mummy, I don't know.
I would have to. I thought he did because I thought it last night on me too.
I could see that because the Mummy was, what, pretty tall and lean, so, I mean, I could see that as being, you know,
I'm
but
99% positive because I remember when he's over the pool where he's hypnotizing her. You can tell I watched the Universal ones. I actually found my DVDs set of the Universal ones when I just went through my stuff. I'm like, "Man, I got to get a DVD player. Is what I got to do because I was very excited.
well, you can get something simple like I have, so all it is, like, yeah, to put the disc in there. So going back to the film, so the runtime, it was a tight 68 minutes, short, sharp, and packed with lots of plot twists and soprano shrieks, and were there shrieks? For sure. I think there were parts that were hurting our ears a bit, right?
Well, this Hollywood singing.
Yeah,
It was an operatic singing.
yeah.
And again, nobody was paying attention to that back then.
It was no Jeanette McDonald
Yeah.
Eddie.
And, and then there was the mood, which I enjoyed that, which was fog machines, velvet cloaks, shadowed catwalks. They did a lot of great things with the shadows. It's basically Agatha Christie meets Phantom of the Opera, subtitles and stuff. With the way that it was done really well, I'm surprised this director is not more well known than he was, or you don't hear more about him.
No,
I've never heard of him.
sure if you did more Charlie Chan, like, like there's a certain director that just like kept
Right.
on doing the same. So I would have to look that up. I don't actually know. This is honestly one of the few Charlie Chan films I've watched.
So Charlie Chan drops wisdoms like rose petals off a balcony. A few of our favorites, and there's plenty to choose from.
Murder like singing can be practiced.
Mhm.
Suspicion often that suspicion often like feather mattress without support.
And yeah, and see, and you chuckle every time.
So now that we've set the stage with the history behind Charlie Chan at the opera, we've poured a glass of Bless Your Heart, white wine. Now let's go ahead and watch a few scenes where music, mystery, and murder share the same spotlight.
Perhaps you're right, Charlie. Our madman does know Madame Rochelle.
I told this officer that I do not know your escaped maniac.
Madame meets many people, but she usually avoids the mad ones.
Do you suspect anyone?
Many people, but she avoids the maniacs. That's pretty cute.
Hey, who are you? My name's Arnold. I'm stage manager here, and this opera is going on tonight even if Frankenstein walks in.
Oh, I didn't catch
So
that.
there's a reference to Frankenstein.
Oh my God, I did not catch that last
Yeah.
night.
I don't think I caught that initially. So that's once again another reference to Frankenstein because of Boris Karloff.
I did not catch that last night. How fun. And turns out he did. Walked right in.
Yeah.
It's better than I could do last night. I was really worried about it. It was so good. Whoever was doing the dubbing for
Ar-
Boris Karloff,
Yeah.
he was not
He was good.
that was an operatic singer. She just kind of
Warbled.
yeah, she kind of warbled. And when she ended up getting killed, I know this is gonna sound mean, but I was kind of relieved.
Really, both women didn't have,
Well, they said, "Why was she killed?" I'm like, "I know why." I'm like, "Huh?" Holding my hand up. Ask me. I know why. Because if they didn't do it, I was gonna. Yeah, but that little shut her up.
Mad.
A very old Chinese wise man once say, madness, twin brother of genius, because each live in world created by own ego. One sometime mistaken for other.
That wasn't the motive. And he got on that one. Boris Karloff got very excited. It was always like he was getting validation. He got so excited. Music, yeah, about the genius part of it. He got
Right.
very, very excited. I think thinking about it now, and I didn't think about it last night. There was like that Charlie Chan there was some kind of understanding
Yeah.
of it. Because I think he knew, well, I'm sure that he did, because it's Charlie Chan, that he didn't do any of this.
Right.
And as far as being a madman and all this other stuff, that he had some traumatic events,
Mhm.
maybe some PTSD, and that there really was, and we're not to give it away, of why he was doing what he was doing, and it was for the right reasons. And he knew that all along, but yet everybody was wanting to put it on him. and vilify
Oh,
him just
their own
because he
reasons,
was the
too.
guy that broke
Yeah.
out of the sanitarium, and so I like that moment, and I
Yeah.
think it connected that the character, that Boris Karloff, because
Like
he's
someone understands what he's experiencing, but obviously can't put into everyone's just kind of nervous and scared from him, right? They don't know what to
yeah,
expect, and obviously they're like saying he's a maniac and all this sort of stuff. Really, like he's just like very passionate about, the music. It's all about the
that,
music.
and he's also got an ulterior motive to be there while he's creeping around and looking at things, doing things.
Yeah.
He's it's for the right reason. I think he knew it all along before the audience did.
Right.
So that was kind of a sweet. It's just the way his face lit up. Really.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, he was very
you give
expressive.
me.
He was very expressive in that scene. Just the whole range of
Yeah.
emotions in that scene and the scene just prior to that. Just it was like you also went through a whole like um a whole bunch of different emotions yourself as you're watching this. You're
Mhm.
like, "Ooh, I'm nervous." I'm like, "Okay, now I'm like, oh, that's so sweet." And it's like, "Okay." And now here's like, "Oh, wow." That excitement that he sees, you're kind of like excited for him, like,
Mhm.
someone understands. It was an interesting, once again, there was, I think, some highs and lows as you're kind of experiencing
Right.
different emotions as you're watching those kind of that scene area. Like I said, that scene in particular that we watched and just prior to that with the girl.
Yeah. Exactly.
Prediction, please. Case still wide open, like swinging gate.
What do you mean?
Gravel, not murderer.
Not Gravel?
Excuse, please. Will demonstrate hypothesis.
What?
Word of Greek derivation. Hypo meaning...
Hypo. Ha! I get it. He's hitting the pipe again.
Go on.
By the way, Arthur Kennedy wasn't in this one, just FYI. So. But Arthur Kennedy's so great. We'll switch. We'll get to that one a bit later. So I just wanted to clear that up. So when you watch this, you're like, where the hell is Arthur Kennedy? Yeah, this is what happens when you know what old Calgon commercials are. So just bear with me.
You're all right. Just like chop suey. A mystery, but a swell dish.
Thank you so much.
Now, we haven't talked about him, which is, I knew him right away, right? Although I did get my Williams mixed up. So it's William Demarest. And he was in a lot of different things, but what people probably know him for the most is he was Uncle Charlie on My Three Sons. Always kind of a little grouchy, a little rough around the edges.
I feel like a lot of times that he played the same. Like he was kind of typecast in that same role. You kind of liked him to a certain extent too, even though he's very rough around the edges and just kind of so he seemed like he was like always an honest guy and just gonna straight shooter.
It's not because he's mean, it's just because he's just a little clueless.
Yeah.
So you can forgive him for that.
Yeah.
But I got it wrong in the beginning. I was like, oh, it's William Farley. And it's about how I was like, wait a minute. Wrong William, because William Farley, as we know, is Fred and I Love Lucy. It's like, no.
Yeah, that doesn't
Move over here.
different person.
Again. Giving my age away again, I think.
I knew we were on the right track, Pop. The first time I saw Madame Brelli, I was sure she was guilty because...
I thought he was going to write him to shut up. Like, I'm confused to say, when your mouth shut, you shut up, or something like that. I was expecting him to tell him to basically close his mouth.
Well, you feel so bad for him, honestly. He's trying so hard to impress his dad, but he's always a little too late, and he just doesn't have quite enough information to get the actual like truth of it. But he does have part. I mean, he was able to get clues, although it was kind of like he was kind of clueless about what those clues were. He just grabbed stuff. Look at all the stuff I found.
I mean, it's funny, but I guess they could probably do in college. They could probably do a psychology course on somebody trying to win their father's love. It doesn't come across like that. It's just he's just this hapless guy that just wants to make his dad proud and he wants to be a detective like his dad. And he's never mean to him. I find it every time he says it's like you've got this very stoic, very Confucius say detective, and his son comes rushing, "Hey, Pop, Pop!"
Right? Very Americanized.
And well, some of it I think is purposeful. I think I don't know if I've never read that it's the case, but my takeaway is that it kind of humanizes Charlie Chan somewhat. Otherwise, he's not really real because he's not connected to a wife. He's connected to a son. But if his son was stoic like that too, it's just to be like, okay. But
Well, the
kind of
son,
humanized.
like any,
He's Pop Charlie Chan, the Great Detective, but to this kid,
yeah,
he's just Pop.
just another
trying to
teenager
impress. Yeah.
that, other teenagers are trying to impress their fathers and that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's just a dad with a goofy son. So it's needed because otherwise, Charlie Chan would be so otherworldly at some point with the wisdom and the Chanisms that I think it might be a little bit hard to connect with him in some way. You'd admire
Right.
him, but it'd be kind of it's because if you notice a lot of the great detectives in these movies, there's something about them that they put some type of a little bit of humor into them. Well, I mean, any of the Agatha Christie detectives, even in the Maltese Falcon, Humphrey Bogart looks like his is the wisecracks and just so. But that's the way we connect, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you would just think they were pompous buttheads, right?
That's true.
Because they know it all. The cops are just a bunch of don't know anything. I mean, of course, the classic, but of all time, which is Inspector. So,
Yeah.
who they pretty much rolled all that up to make him the bumbling detective who manages to get there,
Yeah.
but totally by accident, which, as you can tell, is one of my absolute all-time favorites, and nobody does it like Peter Sellers.
So at this point, we've gone ahead and watched the entire opera unfold on stage, backstage, and in the rafters, and spotlighted the moments where the drama hit its highest notes. So now we're going to go ahead and take our seats and review the performance as a whole. So let's start with any favorite scenes. I have mine. I referenced it before, but yeah, that scene where they're showing this new technology, which is something that we actually even now use today, but it's interesting because it's not even how we use it, because it was actually I think technically it's called like a wire photo, but it's almost like a fax machine. So they were essentially faxing a photograph of this escaped maniac from LA to New York cross country. And it was interesting because how they were receiving it, it was actually you would actually have to process the photo. And so this was the real technology. And you're looking at it going, "Oh my god, is that a fax machine? That looks just like what a fax machine would do." Obviously, this was a law enforcement environment, and that made sense, right? You're trying to find someone that's on the loose, trying to but not everyone's gonna have that machine. But another way I was thinking was like actually for the news. Let's say war's going on or something's going on in Europe. You're not because you don't have fax machines, really. You don't have email, any of this sort of stuff. How are you going to get a photo over to the newspapers over across the ocean?
Right.
You're going to use something like this. There's a transmission. I could see newspapers actually probably having this technology.
They did, yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense because it would have been very expensive. I mean, you're even talking about essentially fax machines where you would get your newspaper through your radio.
Yeah.
And it was through radio transmission.
Yeah.
And that was available. It was a real technology.
I had no idea.
But it was expensive, right? It cost too much. It's just like cell phones back in the day were just so costly. You had one, maybe a car phone, very expensive,
Right.
but you still had that technology. It just took 40 years later, and now everyone has it in their hands.
Yeah.
But
We were very excited.
I was very excited.
It was cool though, and technology. I'll let you cover all
Yeah,
that.
I know.
Even I
You
was
can probably tell with my voice. I'm like,
Yeah, man. I'm like, wait a minute, and what did they just?
we both were just like fax machine.
And it was and it was in that scene, the guy who's doing it actually explains it to Charlie Chan, so it was that important. And then we did a little research after and found out that the movie was Charlie Chan movies in general were known for being where instead of this made up sci-fi stuff in a lot of movies where it's like, okay, what's
like
some of my prescient, where
like
some of these things came to pass, but they actually processing the fingerprints. Another one they said was very CSI, and then that they were very particular about using real technology because they used so much made up stuff in the movies, right? I thought, is that made up? But when he went out of his way to explain it to him, that's not made up. That's a real thing.
And it's funny because initially it's like, oh, that must be a mimeograph where they're making copies of it, and like that. But then when they started oh no, it's scanning and doing this, you're just like, oh my gosh, that's so much more incredible. But it's also interesting when you're talking about how, because it's really following more of the science of what forensics was at that time. Obviously things have changed since then, but this is the science of how, and they're showing how it was done. It makes me want to go and watch some more of the Charlie Chan films if they're actually following that process, which is they're really showing what that forensics process is.
Well, just the fingerprints. Yeah. I don't remember seeing that in a ton of movies. before that. And he was talking about, why are your fingerprints on this? And it's like, and he was talking about how covering up the fingerprints, all this whole thing.
Wow.
And they showed the fingerprints on the card. I was like, that's unusual because you don't really see. It's like, here's the murder weapon. That was the end of it.
Right.
But they're actually talking about, we know who, because the whole thing is like, okay, yeah, when we knew it, you and I were, this is what we do for a hobby. When he grabbed up the murder weapon,
right.
and it's like, we knew exactly what he was
Yeah.
doing. He's making it why it's plausible for him to have his fingerprints to be on it.
Right.
Then I was like, well, they really didn't have fingerprints, but they didn't really do that then. And then Charlie Chan explains the whole
He's like,
thing.
showing
He's like, to cover up fingerprints, to have a reason why your fingerprints are on it. Then he busts him because he's like, okay, great. Why are your fingerprints on this card? And they show it there. It's just like, so they're really following the fingerprint evidence.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know that was, I just don't see it in movies of that period.
Yeah.
So apparently they were very dedicated to being precise in what crime technology, which limited, but was still
Right.
which is not as limited as you think. Because keep in mind, Scotland Yard had been doing big things long before we got involved. They were they were spearheading a lot of this stuff. So I was very impressed about that. But I knew that'd be your one.
Yeah,
Because I don't think I've ever seen you really that excited about a scene like that.
I'm such a nerd.
Yeah, that's what I love about you.
But yeah, so definitely a surprise, but my favorite scene of all.
No.
Which I know in a way is kind of strange because you're like, oh, it should be the characters, whatever. But
No.
like I said, that technology was very surprising, and
It covers two categories.
it does. 2 categories covered by that scene.
But it's it's strange because at all. That's what movies are about, is what appeals to you. What it grabs one person might not. That's why some people hate movies, love movies, because they grab you in ways that are just because we all think differently. And so, no, I think it's actually spot on. That is what, where I'm more like, what makes people tick? Why are they, what's their motivation? Why are they doing what they're doing? And I go with that, where your hard facts and all of that is like, where does the trail lead you by factual things? And between the two of us, we probably could, solve all the unsolved crimes with Tiny and Lacey and wannabes. But I'm sure, like everybody out there, trust me, we do not think we can solve crimes. We're not those folks who are like, give it to us, we'll solve it. No, no. It's fun to think about.
Right.
But, analyzing a movie and actually something where real life implications are much different animals. I was glad to, and I got to tell you, and I was glad to see, because, and here's what, to my point, is that normally going into this, it's not like was not the movie we were going to be super excited about, because we're like, oh, it's not our genre, not really. And, I've never really been involved, into the Charlie Chan franchise. So we weren't I think our expectations were just like, oh, okay. But but as we talked about, we want to respect every genre, because every genre has brought, hey, he's a cultural icon. You can't just dismiss it and go, oh, it's not important. It's extremely important. We didn't know why, though. Going into it like that, we still came out with that. I was like, I had and when you go out and research it after, you find out all of this stuff's out there. Like, so it's wow. It was a wow moment. Even walking in, not great expectations, and look what we walked away with.
Right.
Mine, I'm torn. I think my favorite was one I already mentioned, is when he connected with him, and just the beam on board. I mean, we're seeing a beam on Boris Karloff's face is worth the price of admission all along. That's
true.
That is not, as it's mentioned in Our Sick No Lace, that is not a face that just that's a face that makes a baby cry. I mean, it's just, the dark eyebrows, and just that Boris Karloff just been in these monster movies for the reason he is. So for him to just light up like that was very touching to me. My second favorite will probably be when they killed the opera singer, for reasons I've already mentioned, which, because I'd have to listen to that anymore. And then I guess her aunt, whoever the other one stepped in, but that was brief. And I was like, okay, when is she next? But yeah, that was probably my second favorite, when she finally, and not that I'm happy to see people killed. I mean, let's face it, she's not real, so it's not like I'm wishing, I'm not wishing anything horrible on any real person. But I'm not even lying a little bit, because there was something, she did something And you didn't see it. I flinched and pushed back because I was like, oh, whoa, wow.
I think when she sung and she did a high note,
I flinched. It's like, oh my God, I felt like somebody just punched me in the face.
I was giving it the benefit of the doubt, saying, "Oh, the equipment back in the time," which I think is
That's just, you go to a lot of music or a lot of singing like that back with the actors back then. Not that they were bad, but it was somebody was teaching them back then, open up your mouth as wide as you can and let her rip. Because real opera singers, there is a real technique to it, and you can just tell the difference. So, nice lady, I'm sure, or maybe not. She was cheating on her husband, so maybe not as nice. Actually, the reason she was killed turns out I was right, not because of the singing, but she had it coming anyways. I was right, but for the wrong reasons.
correct. Yes.
So,
I think one of the cinematic features that you were also talking about was the shadows.
yeah.
And I agree. There were some really nice shadows. There's something about shadows that, especially for these older films, that I don't know, they can create more drama. They create a different sense of what might be happening. So yeah, the shadows were there are definitely some points throughout the film where it was significant, I think. So
For a split second, until I had to remind myself, I wonder. Another thing I'd like to kind of maybe research on this is what this director's influences were. For a split second, I was like, are we watching Alfred Hitchcock film? Because it had some of the nuances. So it was set up, certain scenes were set up very much like an Alfred Hitchcock movie. But it wouldn't be unusual. I mean, but this is 1936. Alfred Hitchcock wouldn't have been as prolific at that point, but still already well known. You have the Lodger already in the bucket, a couple of others. And so that he would have his influence was widespread in movies. But just for a second, I'm like, I know Alfred Hitchcock didn't direct this, but if I didn't know any better, and somebody said, who do you think directed this? That would have been my first guess.
yeah.
Because it was done very much in that way.
Yeah, no, I agree. The other thing that I wanted to mention that I realized I hadn't done before was so the character of Charlie Chan actually was based off of a real life detective, and his name was Chang Apana. And so Apana was actually a detective for the Honolulu Police Department. And he often went undercover and he was focusing on like opium dens and gambling in Chinatown. And he didn't carry a gun. He preferred to use a long bullwhip or often not having any weapon at all to handle any dangerous suspects. And what's interesting about the bullwhip is before he became a detective, he actually used to be a Hawaiian cowboy.
Hawaiian
Olo?
cowboy.
Paniolo?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm saying that right. But anyways, bullwhip makes sense. You might have used it as a cowboy. But some of the things that he went through, he was stabbed 6 times. He was thrown out of a second-story window, and he actually, I guess, landed on his feet. And then he actually once marched 40 gamblers to a police station alone. But anyway, he was essentially discovered, I'll say discovered in quotes, by author Earl Dur Biggers, who was visiting Hawaii in 1919. And essentially, this Chang was inspiration for the stories of Charlie Chan, which is, the writer of the Charlie Chan novels.
Wow.
So I definitely want to read up more about this individuals.
Isn't that weird that we just had low expectations.
Yeah.
We're not really
Didn't really know. I think going
tell
about
me more,
it.
tell me more.
Oh yeah. So
Movies can do for you as well. We're such movie buffs. You just, and that's why it's so important is to open your mind. Don't be just dismiss anything, music or movie, any type of art medium. I hate that. I don't like that.
Right.
I don't want to watch that. It's like
wine.
try.
It's even like wine. I know a lot of people will go, oh, rosé. I hate rosés, but let me have you try this.
I don't,
and they'll love it.
So
and
far,
it's like,
so far, I'm 0 for 0, but I
you
do
like
try it.
One.
Try
Don't
it.
lie. Don't lie. No, no.
Oh, that's right. Okay, never mind.
There's one. There's one.
But the point being, try it.
Try it. Yes.
Don't ever because you just never know what you're going to come away with, and you're just selling yourself short, and it's how your view of the world gets larger, which is never a bad thing.
Never.
And first, and I'm surprised you haven't thought about it going, but there's one you keep, and we're going to do it, and that's charade.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
I know.
I'm going about it, but you've been
it's on the list, so I still have
like,
list.
Okay, I've been resistant. I've been hypocritical about that and been resistant because it's because of like spy thrillers are probably my least because I don't feel intelligent through those. Not that I'm not that intelligent to start out with, but is I get lost of who's doing like I'm always like, who's that guy? What just happened there? What's over here? And I'm not the person you want to watch a spy thriller with because I get lost sometimes in what's going on.
And keeping in mind, we are going to be having a season of spy
I
thrillers.
know. So
But
expect me to
hopefully you'll enjoy at least majority of them.
but my point, but I'm gonna give it a try.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if I still walk away not liking it, that's okay too. But
I'll say this. Yes, try movies, try wine. Do
try
not
it.
no. Do not try murder. Do not try crimes. Stay away from those. We do not advocate for trying murder. Do not do it. That's a no.
No, that doesn't broaden your worldview of life. As a matter of fact, that is going to really narrow it, like through bars kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. You get where we're going with this. So I think don't write, share, don't criticize. You know the drill. So okay.
So for the rating, real deal, sketchy but entertaining, or criminal offense. I'm gonna say sketchy but entertaining.
Yeah.
Once again, it's not a knockout film. It's not endlessly watchable, but it definitely provided more entertainment than I expected. So it's definitely above a criminal offense, which I was expecting. Was kind of like, don't waste your time. It's not worth it. It's definitely, I actually now want to go and watch the other films more because, not necessarily because of Charlie Chan, but because of the more technical forensic type of, if once again, if they're saying they're following more real life procedure, I'm definitely be interested in checking out more. Who knows what other technologies they might be sharing?
You don't know.
So,
For a Tata season, we have prescient movies or of things that predicted Minority Reports one.
Yeah.
Although I don't think I can sit through this movie again. And then it was AI, just a little boy.
oh yeah.
So that's a long set. But there's lots of them out there that of things we have now that were Blade Runners one. There's a lot of them out there that you're like, if you look back now, you're like, they already saw it coming, and they're called prescient. So maybe we do a season of those because that's going to be right up your alley.
I'd be on my edge of my seat the whole time. Look at that! Look at that! What's that?
It is it's your.
It's going to take us like 4 hours to watch one film.
It's your Fargo. It's your Fargo.
That's true.
It is your Fargo. And I owe that to you. Since I won't even let you say the word connected anymore, I owe that to you.
So at this point, the curtains may have fallen on the area, but behind the music lies obsession, revenge, and identity in disguise. So let's go ahead and investigate the motives hiding in the wings. So first off, we're going to talk about murder in a theater setting. So the film centers on a killing in an opera house with backstage rivalries and concealed motives. And generally, public venue homicides often exploit confusion, crowd movement, or elaborate stagings of props and lighting to end up hiding the culprit. So, interesting fact, in real life, security and surveillance in performance venues have become much more sophisticated. And yet, still there's crimes that exploit blind spots and backstage access. So maybe what are some what's like a real life example or one or two that you think is worthwhile?
There are various assaults and attempted murders of performers. I know there would be at least one that pops into somebody's mind. So including attacks on musicians and actors before or during a performance. You had Don Darrell. He was the Pantera guitarist. In 2004, was shot and killed on stage in Columbus, Ohio, along with 3 others. Frank Zappa, he was pushed off stage by a fan in London into a concrete orchestra pit. He suffered severe injuries, including a broken leg, fractured skull, damaged larynx. King Cole, of all people, attacked on stage by Ku Klux Klan members, Birmingham, Alabama. The assassination of Russian actor-director, now my Russian is Russian, Sergei Kolonaskov, close as I'm going to get. Colleagues and theater-related disputes, more broadly illustrating how artistic circles become a target of violent crimes. In the 1800s, there was notably jealousy-driven murders involving theater figures, included the 1897 killing of actor William Terrace outside London's Al Jaffe Theatre. Some other cases include the 1827 Red Barn murder, uh, and Maria Martin by William Corder, and 1848's Annie ballad, often fueled by intense obsession, property like use, partners, and sensationalism. The murder of William Terrace, he was a famous Victorian matinee idol. He was stabbed to death outside the stage of the Al Jaffe Theatre on Maiden Lane, London, by a fellow actor. The Red Barn murder, well, it was not directly inside the theater. Maria Martin by William Corder was a 19th century sensation. Spawned numerous plays, ballads, melodramas, becoming a staple of Victorian theater due to the themes of obsession, murder, and discovery of the body.
Victoria era, that was time like murder. They were very obsessed with murder and death and all that. So
very much so.
And a lot of it was happening.
And part of that is because at the time, you have the rise of the media. It was just a combination of so many things. You've got the rise of the media. You've got forensics are starting to become it is being born and of what they can do against Scotland Yard. So now you've got this brew of how everything is just coming together at once to make these things happen. There's jealousy patterns, research in the 19th century crimes, particularly those featured in theater, shows that jealousy was often portrayed as deadly, mad emotion. These cases often highlighted themes of possessive jealousy and in many cases femicide. Think about technically, to some degree, Phantom of the Opera follows that.
Yeah.
Although he doesn't kill Christina, it's about jealousy, definitely, and revenge. I should have prepared with this because I cannot Theater of Blood, I think it's called. I have to throw it in here because it used to be one of my favorite movies, but a movie I really liked. It was Vincent Price, one of those 1960s movies. It's a terrible movie, but I liked it. But it was about theater revenge, and he played a guy who was in a fire. The theater always burns down.
It's true.
Always.
I mean,
And
this one even had a theater fire that was part of
Revenge.
Yeah.
Somewhere they have to burn the theater down. But he was this great Shakespearean actor. So he goes around and he kills these, but I think he blamed part of it on the critic. Was it a fire? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. But anyway, the whole point of it was that he went around killing critics, his performances. Maybe they ended his career again. Oh, but I'm pretty sure there was a fire involved in there somewhere. Maybe he got killed by a fire at the end. Long and short of it, the critics, he went around and killed long before slasher movies and killed critics in these really odd ways, much like Seven or something like that. Like the one that sticks out in my mind is this critic had this whole poodle. He didn't kill the dog. Let's not talk about the dog, but he ended up killing this critic because he was very overweight and stuffing pate down his throat until he just choked, whatever. Which is very reminiscent of Seven and some of the more modern of let's make it as weird and brutal. But for some reason, of course, I liked Vincent Price, but that was Theater of Blood. So these theater revenge it's been since you started Phantom of the Opera and you keep on going, right?
So the next area of crime analysis is revenge and old grievances. So an important theme is a crime rooted in long-standing grudges and past injustices, sometimes involving memory loss or even mistaken identity. In general, revenge crimes occur when an offender believes the legal system failed them and takes matters into their own hands. Interesting fact, revenge motives often produce carefully planned but highly personal crimes with the victim chosen for symbolic reasons. And so for this, Mamie, do you have any real life examples?
Yeah, we have the killing of Ramon Navarro in 1968, which while involving robbery also showed elements of personal grievance and obsession.
This makes me think of the more recent two. You have the killing of Rob and Michelle Reiner. Once again, it was a personal, grievance from the son, but once again, also kind of linked to kind of this entertainment world too.
Crane was that it was a spurn lover, basically. Gosh, the list goes on and on. If you ever seen the Cat's Meow about the Randolph Hearst, which Marion Davies, which that was a scandalous thing. All these different Charlie Chaplin, and this ends up dead. And they think we never did. They all covered for each other, but it was basically jealousy. And Randolph Hearst was very jealous of Marion Davies and this and this particular actor that he thought was something was going on. That was a very, very famous case.
Yeah.
But Randolph Hearst owned America pretty much.
Right.
And
He owned the
controlled the media. So he made it go away. So yeah, and then we could get into more a workplace professional revenge shootings. We know about these. These are sadly too much in the news, too much of a daily occurrence. Received by slights or career sabotage. We have 2021 in Minneapolis, the former FedEx worker killed 8 people. 2012 Minneapolis, a fired worker killed 5 people at accident signage systems. 1989 Louisville, a disgruntled employee killed 8 people at Standard Gravure Company. And then you have stalking-based attacks on celebrities, where this attacker cites grievances or fantasies of betrayal. Rebecca Schaefer is a famous one of that. The one showed up her door and shot her because he thought she had cheated on she was just a deranged man, thought he had cheated on him. John Lennon.
Yeah.
Rebecca Schaefer's the reason that the DMV won't give out driver's license information anymore because that's how you found her. John Lennon, of course, is the most obviously one of the most very famous one of he felt like he had been slighted somehow, and John Lennon had just signed an autograph for him not too much before that. Well, actually, he was trying to impress Jodie Foster, right? And wasn't that the deal? Yes, just strange. Let's put it that you know. So yeah, I mean, there's no shortage of these criminal events. You feel like every morning you wake up, it's somebody who's just snapped because they feel like they've been wronged. Or what was the one she drove all the way to wearing diapers? The astronaut who was jealous of the other astronaut. I mean, the crazy can go on for days. We could have a whole series just based on
the one with the bat, the ice skaters.
Nancy Kerrigan.
Was that Nancy Kerrigan?
Oh no, that was the astronaut. That was the ice skaters. I don't remember the name of the one where she drove wore diapers so she wouldn't have to stop. So the whole plan was to kidnap this because she was jealous of the astronaut she was dating, was canoodling around with this other gal. And it's just, again, we could do I'm sure there's podcasts out there, the whole podcast about crazies. We don't tend to get too deep in that. We just kind of, highlight what's,
because there are people that are going into all the details.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think, and that's great. So definitely go, and if you want to learn more, go and find a podcast or an episode about that.
Yeah, this is the age of information. We'll hit the high notes. Better than that woman in the movie. But as far as getting into the one thing, it's just, we're never going to get into the gory details. Life is challenging enough without tuning into something and having it just no. And we're crime buffs, don't be wrong, but we're more about the mechanics of it than the brutality and the voyeurism of it, and just not our thing.
That, and then how they're caught too,
We were doing Charlie Chan movies, for God's sakes. Trust me, was there even so much as, I mean, even the women in that movie they didn't even show, like the one.
I don't think we saw any blood actually. Like, even no bodies. Like,
there was everything suggested. I saw foot, and it was all suggested off screen. The women were dressed, since it was. And this is pre-code, so they could have gotten away with a lot.
It's very true.
But it's like, there was a kiss with, and there was a suggestion about, an illegitimate child and nothing, but nothing.
Which we found out wasn't true, I guess.
Yeah, it turns out wasn't true. That was a bunch of.
I think we were making.
Yeah, we were just. Yeah,
that was our assumption.
We were filling in the blanks. Yeah, but my point being is that we just, these are the type of, it's the not, and I think it's just most because it doesn't have nightmares. Me, I'm a scaredy cat. No one needs to scare. I don't, people that attracts that want to scare me. So I probably have nightmares for a different reason. You only watch scary movies with me, so because they'll come through the TV, right?
Hey, it could happen.
It could happen.
You never know.
I know. They can fax
hello.
They can fax that ghost right to you.
Exactly. Faxes ghosts and radio waves. I mean, come on, what else could happen?
It could happen.
But with that, let's do our final thought.
Yeah. Before anybody calls the authorities and has us locked up in a sanitarium.
Into the booby hatch, right?
Yeah, the booby hatch.
Charlie Chan at the Opera delivers chills, thrills, and campy mystery all in one dramatic area.
It's a vintage whodunit with an actual opera, a horror legend as a tortured soul. Love that. And a detective who solves crimes with poetry.
All that under 70 minutes. So brava. Brava.
Brava.
So to summarize today's podcast, we tasted Bless Your Heart, a white wine from Windmill Creek. We pair the wine with the 1936 film Charlie Chan at the Opera. The film was directed by H. Bruce Humberstone and starred Warner Olin, Key Luke, and Boris Karloff. Sets were leftovers from the 1935 Phantom of the Opera. And the opera within the film, Carnival, was specially composed for the movie. We ended up wrapping up our session by discussing criminal themes, murder amid public performance, and revenge linked to past wrongs and mistaken identity. So, kind of wrapping this up, we have our booby trap scorecard. We decided that the wine was a sip verdict. It was definitely sippable. We enjoyed it. It's definitely a nice summer porch wine.
I didn't get my cheese, by the way.
Well, that's for the rest of the bottle, I guess. In terms of the film, was it a real deal or trouble verdict? Real trouble verdict. Essentially, we decided it was sketchy but entertaining. So it definitely wasn't, something we'd watch over and over again. But it definitely had some moments, and
Yeah.
it actually made me want to watch more of the entire film catalog related to Charlie Chan. So, that is a positive right there. And booby trap moment, we have that madness, which is kind of that perfect disguise for distracting from the revenge that was moving around and all the silence and that. So lots of interesting activities going on. This concludes episode 3 from season 3 of the Booby Trap podcast. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and whatever channel you listen to podcasts.
And for this episode's teaser question to be answered on social media of your choice, revenge is said to be sweet, but is it ever worthwhile? Does its value depend on the consequences? And if so, where's the line? It's no longer worth it. Served cold?
Yes, is it revenge better served?
So yeah, pick up. I know you have a phone. Pick up that phone and dial in.
Just do us. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Or any new technology of that we may not be aware of.
Yeah.
So there you go. So until next time, keep your corks tight, your glasses full, and never let revenge steal the final curtain call. Cheers.
Cheers. One sip, one flu, one unforgettable twist, and you've been
booby trapped.